Good evening, Namaskar, Jai Hind. A warm welcome to all on today's episode of Bhagwaan, Rajneesh, our national treasure. I'm your host, Ma Prem Shweta, and you're watching us on NIN Live. Today we are here to talk about the purpose of Osho's inner circle. What was his idea behind creating it? What was his vision about it? And why did he choose to have an inner circle around him? It was on 6 April 1989 that Osho decided to form an inner circle of his people, of his disciples, of his members of his commune to continue his vision of the Buddhas that he saw and the new man that he wanted to be created through his vision. To speak on this today, along with me, my first guest today is Swami Chaitanya Keerti. Good evening, Swamiji. A warm welcome to you on today's episode. It's an honor for us to have you here with us today. And I would like to tell my viewers that Swami Chaitanya Keerti is a renowned meditation facilitator, Osho Sannyasi, editor of Osho World magazine, and author. Swamiji, an honor for us to have you here with us today once. Swamiji, we can't hear you. I think you'll have to log out and re-log in. We can't hear you at all. Yes. My second guest for today is Swami Samudroprem.
Hello.
Hello, good evening and a warm welcome to you, sir, on today's episode, Swamiji. I would like to tell my viewers that it was in the late 70s, early 80s that Swami Samudroprem came from England to India to become a disciple of Bhagwaan, and he was only 19 years old when he made the journey. Today, he's the founder of International Academy of Awakening Psychology, a psychotherapist, and a renowned meditation facilitator. Swamiji, a warm welcome to you on today's episode. It's an honor for us to have you here with us today. My first question is for Swami Chaitanya Keerti. Swami Keerti, I want to ask you, what was the inner circle about? And what was Osho's vision for creating this inner circle? What was his vision for creating this inner circle? Yes. Swami Keerti, we can't hear you at all. You're not audible. There's a problem with your sound, I guess. If you can remove the Bluetooth connection in case you're connected to Bluetooth. I can't hear you. We can't hear you at all. It's just not audible. I would suggest you to log out and re-log in. Yes, while we wait for Swami Keerti to join back with us because of some difficulties, Swami Samudroprem, I asked my first question to you. Mm-hmm. You were the assistant to the director of Center of Transformation and the Multiversity Scheduler. In that capacity, you attended weekly meetings with the Multiversity directors in which Jayesh and Amrito were usually present. This was around the mid-90s, and around 1999-2000, Anando was appointed as the main Multiversity director. As one of the group leaders, you had maximum dealings with her.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. You were there at that point in that phase of timing. Mm-hmm. What were their views about the commune? What were they thinking about the commune at that point? Because 99-2000 is an era when many people were leaving the commune, like Ma Neelam left, Swami Keerti too left around the same time. So what was the trio's vision of the commune around that period, Swamiji?
Oh, there's so many things to discuss. Okay. I was actually quite sad about Neelam and Keerti leaving. I was meeting Neelam every week because also one of my other jobs was to help them the location of where people were sitting in the White Robe Brotherhood every night. Yes. and Neelam was the coordinator of that. So I was meeting her every week, talking about little details of who was sitting where. But she would sometimes confide in me that she was having a really difficult time with the pressure being put on her and Tathagat, her husband at that time. The pressure was being put on them, of course, due to the secrecy, the oath of confidentiality that inner circle members had to take. She couldn't tell me the full details, but it was very clear that they were under pressure to leave the commune and to get out of the inner circle. And there was this whole dramatic story involving Tathagat apparently finding some precious stone in the lost and found, and the person who it belonged to complained, and basically Tathagat was accused of being a thief. And that was used for me, it was a very embarrassing scene that Tathagat was displayed in front of the whole commune before the White Robe Brotherhood and forced to apologize. To me, it felt like a Christian witch hunt. But I could understand the basis of it was that many years before, when Osho was still with us, there was a strange incident, maybe many people know it already, that Ma Anando took all Osho's robes for dry cleaning to Mumbai for one day. So we got this unusual announcement when we were all sitting waiting for Osho one night that, sorry, Osho cannot come because he has no clothes to wear. So because Anando, a little bit lovely but a little bit crazy Anando, had taken all his robes away. And then the next night, Osho asked Anando to stand up and apologize, and she did a namaste to us all. And that was because, Osho forgave her very easily, and we all sort of laughed it off as a strange incident. And Anando's so beloved and so close to Osho. We trust whatever Osho has said, whoever Osho has appointed, we trust that person. So that was sort of taken as a precedent, like, okay, if there's going to be some incident where an individual has hurt the whole commune, they should stand up and apologize. But when it was repeated many years later by I presume it was Jayesh who decided it, that Tathagat should apologize publicly to us, it didn't feel like the same joyous occasion or the humorous occasion that when Osho was asking Anando to apologize. So after that also, Neelam would tell me that that there was a lot of pressure on her, and that basically whenever her and the other Indians of the inner circle were talking, they were just ignored. And I witnessed that myself in one memorable event in that multiversity directors meeting. Again, it was maybe in about 93, I think, maybe 92, I don't remember exactly, was an issue that came up because some Osho group leaders had been going to other gurus in India, especially to Punjaji, also known as Papaji, who was up in Lucknow. And he became so popular that many leaders went there. And when they came back, they had their groups scheduled, but it was discussed in the multiversity directors meeting. What should we do about that? And for myself, I couldn't see it was any problem. And I remember Neelam and Sachivedant, the two Indian members of the inner circle who were present also in every multiversity directors meeting, also both expressed that they cannot see any problem if the group leader or the black robe wearer, which also means assistants or meditation leaders, if they are here and they show that they love Osho, they're still a disciple of Osho, then there's not a problem that they go to seek with other masters. They couldn't see what the problem was. And as soon as they finished speaking, they were just ignored. And not only Jayesh and Amrita, also Wadud and the other Western directors sort of just started to complain and started to say it is a problem, that this is that from the group participants will hear about them going to other leaders, to other gurus, and will take that as an advert to go to other gurus. And for me, that was such a moment of seeing the Western mind and the Eastern mind, the different way of seeing things. To me, the Indian way of seeing things was more inclusivity, more loving. There's not a problem. For the Western point of view, it's more divisive, more exclusive. Either you love Osho or you love other gurus. To me, it seemed like our Christian conditioning that there is only one God. There's many other stories, but okay, I'll finish with that little point.
Okay. Swami Keerti is here with us today, and I want to ask you, Swami Keerti, what was the inner circle about, and what was the idea behind creating this inner circle? What was Osho's vision about it?
Well, I think when Osho stopped speaking on 10th April 89, then it became very clear that he is not going to remain in the body for too long, and the work must continue. And as he himself said that I'm now retiring, I'm kind of tired. I just want to see you how you function. And he gave the guideline and insight that there should be 21 members. It's like council of ministers or advisors who can look after the job, and he can, while he's still in the body, he can see how they are working. So he gave guidelines, his insights, and he chose people from different countries and different qualities of people, or academic background, or their capacity to do things. So it was like because they had to represent the whole world and work for the whole world, and then whole world was supposed to come to Pune because Pune was his headquarters. So these 21 people, the reason for choosing 21 people was also that now there should not be any dictator like in the past. Ma Lakshmi was doing everything, Ma Sheila was doing everything, and one person with absolute power can become very dangerous. So the power should be divided between 21 people. And it's actually not power, it is function. Like Osho says, food minister simply takes care of the food supplies of the countries. A postmaster general takes care of the post. And the departments are there. And these inner circle people were supposed to take care of the mundane things of the commune, not spiritual dimension of such things. Like they can decide that you would be banned if you go to some other guru, or if you, like Samudra was talking about Punjaji and people. And Jayesh, next to Jayesh, there was one Swami Chitten, who was always assistant to Jayesh. And he left one day. Just he was fed up with all that because of this kind of control. What Jayesh did, maybe it is not your question, but I can just take the
Please, sir. Please
opportunity
go
to
ahead.
say,
Please go ahead, sir.
what Jayesh
Yes.
did that he, after becoming the chairman of the inner circle and having confidence of the vice chairman, so they started taking all power in their own hand. While Osho had decided that if there is a division of 10 people this side, division of people, 10 people that side opposing the issue, then one vote can be the deciding vote. 21 means uneven number, means when two even groups are there opposite each other, then one vote is required to. And this was not a permanent job also. Chairman, vice chairman can be replaced. So having feeling this insecurity that they can be replaced one day, now they have continued for 30, 40 years now already, more than 30 years. This was the fear. So they started removing people, creating situation for every inner circle member to leave the inner circle, go to their own country, or some people died also. But just to have the whole power in these two hands, Amrita and Jayesh. So this became totally against the guideline, totally against the vision of the master, who did not want people with just wielding power and controlling others, but just taking everybody along.
Yes.
So the first group to leave was the in within a year or so, the Hollywood group, which had one Ma Prem Shweta, Osho's international secretary,
Yes.
and so many other important people left because the situation was created that this leave soon, and then he can replace them with such people who would simply just be rubber stamps. They would not have their own, which was against guidelines of the master. Also said everybody should have his, say in it.
Yes.
I give you one example. When Devendra was made into inner circle, inducted into inner circle, then I asked him one evening at a friend's house, what was the brief given to you when you were inducted in the inner circle? He says, to support the chairman. That's it.
Uh,
The function of the inner circle was not just to support the chairman, but to be have an important role in the world affairs of the inner circle, because the whole world they are representing. And suddenly this became their kind of monopoly, and they started
yes.
working towards that. That's what my feeling is. That's why what we have today, this disintegration.
Yes.
Okay.
There are so many aspects of copyright, also of so
Yes.
many dimensions of trademark. When the first article that this Amrita wrote, what is an Osho?
What is an emotion?
Instead of saying who is Osho, he started what an Osho. And he had met one top copyright lawyer in Zurich or America, maybe America, and who said, reading all Osho's things about discourses, she said he is a kind of deconstructionist. Deconstructionist. Osho is deconstructionist. Means everything is
Yes.
like he says something one day, another day says another thing. So you cannot make something
All right.
harmony in it. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what Amrita got, and he himself started deconstructing Osho,
Yes.
deconstructing everything around Osho in '98. So it
Mm-hmm.
took them 8 years to conspire, plan everything so that So many people leave, and inner circle is just their monopoly. So
Okay.
you see, even Anando left, Neelam left in India because of the way they behaved.
Yeah.
Uh, when I look at the inner circle of the earlier times, it is Swami Anand Jayesh, Prem Amrito, Ma Deva Anando, Swami Amitabh, Ma Atmo Anasha, Ma Shantam Avirbhava, Swami Chiten, Swami Devgi, Ma Prem Garimo, Ma Prem Hasya, Swami Satya Bodhisattva, that is Jayanti Bhai,
Yeah,
and then there's Ma Kavisha, then after her is Ma Yogamukta, Ma Yognilam, Swami Plotinus, Swami Prem Prasad, Swami Tathagat, Ma Prem Turiya, Swami Satyavedant, Swami Dhyan Yogi, and last is Ma Prem Zari. And this is the official list that was announced over a period of time. And prior to this, in one list was definitely the name of Ma Prem Nirvano, but after she left her body, she was replaced by Swami Plotinus. Now, one question that comes to my mind is that right now at this point we are not aware who the new inner circle is. Rather, one can say that Jayesh is the ringmaster and the others are just part of the inner circus that has been created by Jayesh over the years. But with this comes one question which I want to ask Swami Samudro is, do you actually think that Osho did announce Anando as his medium? Was she actually given this by
Okay.
Osho himself?
Okay. So first of all, from that list you just read out, apart from Jayesh and Amrito, only Garimo is the only other person that I am aware of from the original list. All others have either died or retired. I remember when Ma Yoga Mukta retired, I asked her why. She said she didn't want to deal with the politics, that the inner circle had become too political for her. Also, just to add to what Keerti was saying earlier, one of the replacement members, his name was Sahaj, he was director of creative arts. Again, he couldn't tell me fully, but he said why he resigned after a few months, less than 1 year, as an inner circle member, was that he realized he was just being used as a rubber stamp. That whenever they presented a topic, it was Jayesh Amrito and Garimo, maybe Anando, saying this is the topic and this is what we believe. Do you have something to say? He would say his viewpoint. They would ignore him and then say, this is the way we see it. Do you agree? And he realized they weren't going to listen to him. So he resigned when he realized they just wanted to be a rubber stamp. And he had the integrity not to do that. He didn't want to just be a yes man. I don't know where he's gone. He was a really wonderful man, really good friend. Okay, back to your question about Anando being the medium. Well, maybe the only people that really know the answer to that question are Osho, Amrito, and Jayesh. So perhaps we can say that Osho did choose Anando to be his media. She was director of the media department, overviewing the books, the publications, which was located in Mirdad at that time. Keerti is much more familiar with that side of things. But so we considered Anando's job in the 90s, or even before, in the 80s, in the Pune 2 period, was to be in charge of the publications. So, but just a factor to consider is that in the last 9 months, maybe it's the last year, before Osho departed, Mahasya, who was director of the mystery school and one of the inner circle members, and what we used to call one of the Hollywood gang, she was conducting sessions of what was called in synchronicity with the master. So she was a very intuitive person, and Osho supported that. as I said, Osho appointed her as director of the mystery school. And part of the mystery school way of working is a person is intuitive and receiving messages from another dimension. And we all know that in Pune 1, Osho had chosen women and also Satchivedant, to one man at least, to be his mediums. So we were familiar with the concept that the spiritual master Osho had mediums, people who could channel his energy. Also Swami Ananda Tirtha. So Tirtha and Satchivedant were the two men who were giving sannyas instead of Osho when he stopped giving sannyas. So we were familiar with the concept of there are mediums. But Kavisha, when she was giving these in synchronicity with the master sessions, some people considered that she was going to put herself in a position as being Osho's medium after she left. So when I heard the announcement that Osho had announced before he died that Ananda would actually have the position of being a medium, I instantly understood that this was a ploy, I thought it was from Osho, to prevent Kavisha from declaring herself as the medium. Because the background of it is that in those 9 months before Osho died and 1 year following, before the Hollywood group left, there was a huge division in the concept of the commune. I was involved in it. There were many arguments within the multiversity of how we should present the groups. And it was also based on finances. The Hollywood group wanted us to spend more money and to charge higher prices for the therapy groups. Others of us disagreed. We wanted to keep it cheaper for more people to join in. And there were many arguments, but it was clear, even though the inner circle was supposedly secret, that there was a division within the inner circle. Even in the 9 months before Osho left, there was continuous arguments, disagreements about the vision. So as I saw it, that there was a ploy, perhaps it was Osho's idea, I doubt it though now, to prevent Kavisha being declared the medium, that she could declare herself as Osho's medium, and saying once he's gone, she's received a message from him, that Ananda would be the medium. And Ananda being a very basic materialistic person, a lawyer, not prone to mysterious messages or having the ability to channel, that was basically to prevent Kavisha. Now, in later years, I have to say that I've always doubted if Osho really did say that, or if it was an invention of Amrito and Jayesh. So who knows? Only they can tell us the truth. But that was the effect, basically, to prevent anyone else declaring themselves as a medium. Okay.
Swami Keerti, over the years, we have seen how Osho spoke, the message that he gave to his followers, to the world, was about the new man, the 10,000 Buddhas, kindness, compassion, love, everything. But in hindsight, when we look at it today, we realize that OIF has been steadfastly working hard to destroy his vision, right from the copyright to the banning to not allowing people to visit the commune, having their own designs of things. What I want to ask you is, how did they go about doing this? And what has been the primary reason for OIF to steadfastly destroy Osho's vision in his own commune. And one thing that I would like to add is that despite destroying the vision, they continue to live inside the place where they have removed his photographs, where they refuse to talk about him. As a matter of fact, the news is that whenever they visit somewhere, especially this has come about Ma Sadhana and Swami Devendra, that whenever they visit somewhere to give lectures or conduct, meditation sessions, the first instruction given is that the photo of Osho should be removed from there if they want them to do it. So, what is all this about? What is all this about? Why is this happening?
I'm sure this started happening right after Osho left the body, that they have to have the full control in these 2 3 people, like thinking that they just have to declare Ananda as medium. So then they become 3 important people to run the affairs of the commune. And up to 8 years, they seemingly they were on track. They were like not interfering with the vision. Just close to millennium, when we had to decide to celebrate the millennium in a big way, and we were having one whole year of meetings in 99, how we would be celebrating the millennium. I was part of those meetings. And who would take care of what in the commune when we have 40-day celebration from 11 December to 19 January? That 40 days of celebration, we would invite the whole world, all the people who ever have been with Osho, all the media people who have ever been with Osho. And we were really going enthusiastically that it is going to be a big blast and we would do it. And suddenly when and those days, Amrita was not in India, in Pune. So, and he was busy doing something in America or in England or in Zurich to have copyrights, etc. done, trademark. And one day when he came, then he just put a wet blanket on all our plans, and he says, no more Osho and all that stuff that you guys have been planning. So his deconstructionist business started. He wrote an article also which no inner circle member liked it except Jayesh, because it suited Jayesh that you have to read that article to understand what I'm saying. What is an Osho? Then you know where he's at. He's like creating so much heady stuff in that everything is denied. Simply just the head stuff, that there's no Osho, absence or presence, nothing, forget about it, like they say, forgive me and forget me, like that. Those kinds of things started. You have to forget Osho as a person. It's a healing sound. All kinds of jargon came in between. As a person, Osho was not being recognized. So this was the start of thing. And so they started writing OSHO as capital letters also, which actually meant Osho Spiritual Health Organization, not a person. And with Osho, they can have R and T and etc. on top. So this was the start of monopoly of trademark. They kept saying deconstructionist, but that meant that we have to just remove all these things. People who come with love and heart and devotion, etc., finish the commune. Now it is a resort.
Yeah.
But resort has not been deconstructed in 30 years. If Osho is deconstructionist, then you would have stopped resort also. You keep moving. And also deconstruction means that you you yourself also go away and let other take over from you. But you are clinging because they felt insecure. Out of insecurity, they created a false will so that nobody from the family, like Shailendra or anybody, can claim I'm the inheritor. They were big fear was, they told me also that we are not afraid of others, but we are afraid of the family members. Then somebody, some brother may say, it belongs to us after Osho's death. So they were really scared of this thing to happen. So they created a false will also. And this wonderful person, Niren, became also kind of bought over by them. Strange. And this was the beginning of, and when this trademark, copyright, etc. was done, then one day Amrito tells me that now we are so strong, we powerful, and we can do things what we want. And we would be stepping on the toes of some sannyasins. And we intend to do that. We intend to do that was his next sentence. I said, these are the toes of sannyasins, Osho lovers. They are working all over the world, and you want to give them legal notices, etc., to stop them. Whenever something got published in Times of India, Osho Discourse, or Accept, I was happy that it is happening. Now mainstream media is publishing Osho. And Amrita would say, where is copyright mentioned? I said, in speaking to the copyright, one article, copyright, all that. Are you crazy? Who writes all that stuff? And Osho told me to take his vision to all the newspapers, all the channels. But he said, no, we are sitting on a gold mine. We would decide. We are not working for them, these media people. And around that time, I was giving Osho videos, beta cam videos to ATN, to ZTV, to Jan TV, and so many TV channels were, and they were never happy. They were saying, well, they have footprints outside India, and outside India, we would decide from Zurich whether to give them or not. You simply introduce them to us. We will discuss with them. And I did. And last 30 years, Osho has not been seen on television in India. It is the biggest crime they have committed in my eyes, because if 30 years people had seen Osho videos in different channels, there are 100 channels in India are open for Osho. And OIF, because of its claim that it footprints is going out of India, we would decide from New York, but they never decided. So the West was not open for Osho discourses, and they could not succeed there. But India became gradually very open to have Osho discourse telecast of them, and they put a total control over it. And now it means in India we became servants in a way that we have to take it from them and then take it to, but they would not allow that. And till today they have not allowed it. So can you imagine the size of the crime that they have committed, these 2-3 people, after trademark? And Osho would have like revolutionized the whole country with these discourses, raised the consciousness of India so much. And India was receptive. After Osho left the body, India was very receptive to go to listen to the Osho vision. And the West is still talking about Rolls Royces, Sheilas, checks, etc., everything. The Indian now are ready, and they are clinging to it. Suppressing. They have done so much harm in India. They should be thrown out of India that way. If they should open some headquarters somewhere. This is a forwarding address, one room they are operating from. Why couldn't they create a big commune there, or big and the commune that we have here? They are also in a way, pushing the Indian trustee to sell it off.
Oh, yes.
Why sell it off? Osho has given his, so much from his life to create this Buddha field, energy field. If you read these, even last discourses, he's talking about we are blessed ones. We have these 10,000 people in Buddha Hall meditating together. The energy is so beautiful. All these quotes, they never mention. What they mention is forget me and forgive me.
Yes.
And just go your way. So why this? Who made them owners? Trustees are not owners, and they are not even trustees in India. They simply created the same outfit, Osho International Foundation in Zurich, just to give a confusion that there is a headquarters somewhere else. And India suffered a lot because of their presence here.
Absolutely, we did suffer. When I talk about the new members of the new inner circle, anyways, the new inner circle is shrouded in secrecy because they do not speak, they do not communicate with sannyasis. And let me put it that their email ID response@osho.net is just a farce. Is just a farce. They do not reply to sannyasis. None of your questions are answered. There's a standard format given to you when you ask them questions. With this, when I think of the new members of the inner circle, I must mention that Swami Mukesh Bharati also is a member of the new inner circle, one of the prime members. This man had the audacity in 2011 to publish an ad in a Mumbai newspaper for the sale of the 6,611 square feet Osho Sanai, a property in Pune, to Darshan Trust of Delhi. And an ad was put in the Mumbai newspaper that they were donating it. And the fact remains, that Mukesh Sarda was also a member of Darshan Trust Delhi. This is how they were cheating people.
Yeah.
Yes, from one hand he was giving to the other, and one fine day an advertisement would have been put in a Delhi newspaper for the sale of Osho Sanai by Darshan Trust. At the same time, when we speak of Swami Yogendra Manu, I think I should drop the word Swami Yogendra Manu. He was the man who signed off the copyright amongst all the members. He was the first person to sign it off. And this has been said by a lot of sannyasis over here, that he was one of the prime people to sign off the copyright when Jayesh asked for it. And that's how the copyright was transferred from here to Zurich. This is what Kamleshji has said on record. What is it all about?
He did not sign for Jayesh. He signed for Sheila. When Osho was leaving for USA, then all these things. So Sheila had to publish books in Oregon and many things. She was going to do it because she was secretary. Like in Pune, Lakshmi was secretary, but there were trustees also. So one of the trustees, Sheila, said that. So Sheila, some token money, $1 was mentioned in selling the copyrights. So this I wanted to correct each time this topic was brought out. So I would not like when Sheila brings Osho in Manu's house before leaving for USA, and then Manu is very happy that Osho stayed for a few hours in his house before taking a flight. And then whatever Sheila wanted, he did it. And from there, the transfer from the west to the east again became a problem to sort out. How to bring the copyrights back to after Sheila left.
The right to copyright expires in April 2025 in Zurich. And this is a golden time for sannyasis to apply to fight back for the copyright. We had done an episode on this, and the copyright in Zurich, I repeat again, expires in April 2025, after which OIF will again have to apply for the licenses. And that's the time when, legally actions can be taken against it. At the same time, I want to ask you, Swami Samudro, why do you think that the inner circle is so secretive today? We have no communications from Osho International. If you're banned, you write them a mail at response. There's only one standard format that they send you. There are no answers given to sannyasis. You do not know who the members of the inner circle are, what their powers are, how are they functioning on a day-to-day basis, what are the holdings of the ashram. Nothing is known to anyone. Why do you think there's so much secrecy about the inner circle today?
Okay, so when the inner circle was first announced back in April 1989, it was also announced that the workings of the inner circle would be anonymous. And I understood it at that time, it was necessary because we sannyasins are a very emotional bunch. We're very alive with our emotions and our opinions. And everybody has their opinions, so it could be very difficult for anyone to make any decisions. And there was also going to be a lot of criticism. We know that Osho was never really in favor of democracy. He used to call democracy mobocracy, that actually for democracy to function, you have to please the crowd. And Osho more talked about meritocracy. So whether or not the people he chose, the 21 people he chose, were really having the merit to be the inner circle members, that is debatable. Of course, it's Osho's choice, so we trust that. But in the public discourses, Osho did mention that, as Keerti said at the beginning, that people in power should be rotated every few years. And we have this difficult situation where the inner circle members are appointed and perhaps they are appointed for life, versus what Osho told us in public, that anyone in positions of power should be rotated every few years. Hopefully people who are inner circle members do meditate and do listen to the teachings of their master, and they would realize from their meditation that now it's time to pass on, to not make it an exclusive possession, that Osho's work does not belong to one person, it belongs to everybody that loves Osho. But about the secrecy of the inner circle, well, I think there is no inner circle anymore. There is a management team, which that's what they call themselves now. Perhaps just to keep up appearances, they might say that their inner circle meets once a year. But day-to-day basis, it's a management team, which is just a few individuals. But the secrecy basically now comes from Jayesh's own personality. So he is quite a reclusive type. We don't see him much in public. Even in the 1990s, after Osho left, in those 10 years or even longer, because remember, as I said, I was doing the seating for the white robe, and it's like I know who was when he was there and when he wasn't, and he would come like 1 or 2 days a week at the most, and that later, in the few years later, became 1 or 2 days in the whole year. So, of course, those of us that were there used to make jokes and comments about him. We would call him the remote control, that we knew that he would be sitting in his hotel in Mumbai, but phone every day to check what's going on. Of course, we joked about it because there's not much we could do about it, but certainly we didn't really like it. I speak, when I say we, it's like me and my friends, the people that I was around. But as I see it, that is Jayesh's own personality. He's more of a Howard Hughes type, if you remember Howard Hughes, who was like hiding in his exclusive penthouse. And Jayesh also has a room reserved for him at the top of the Osho House building next to the Multiversity Plaza. and it was very rare to see him in the commune. So that is his personality. He's an introvert, but he is definitely in control of what is going on. Whereas Amrita would be his public voice. So we understood very clearly that it's not a member in a circle anymore. It's a duopoly. It's two people who are running the show, and what they decide, that's the way it is. And I would say that there is really a cult of personality. But we also mustn't forget that Jayesh is a very charismatic person. He is a very, charismatic. He has a very charming way of talking. Whenever you go to have a meeting with him in private, I would sometimes go and talk to him in his office. And myself and others would often say afterwards, how did he manage to change our viewpoint? Of course, we have respect to him that Osho has chosen him. And I think that Osho chose him perhaps because he's very different than Ma and Sheila's personality. As we all know, Sheila is very flamboyant. She's the star of the show wherever she goes. She was, the whole Wild Wild Country Netflix series was basically Sheila's show, more about Sheila than Osho. And Jayesh is completely the opposite. He's much more quiet in the background, but still he keeps a tight control over everything that's going. Now, the basis of his power is trust. Sannyasins trust that whatever Osho has said, whoever Osho has appointed as his secretary, they have some sort of magical quality that will live forever. And I think that is a lot of our own psychological projection. We all have a need to see Osho as not just as our spiritual master, not just need to see him as an enlightened master, but we tend to project onto Osho our concepts of God. So if God has chosen the Pope to be his only voice on earth, then we tend to repeat this projection on Jayesh. And also we repeat the projection on Amrito, who is chosen as Osho's personal physician. So their power continues now because, one, we have no instructions of how to replace them, except we have Osho's general instruction that people in power should be rotated every few years. But there was no specific instruction related to the inner circle members that they should be just for 4 years and then rotated. But secondly, the major point is the sannyasins trust. We trust Osho. We trust his appointees that there were 21 originally. 21 people were chosen to be inner circle members, although Plotinus was never there. Many people don't know who he is. I can't even remember. There was never more than 18 people, as far as I can remember, never more than 18 present at one time. But we could see, if we read Shunyo's book, the concept of the inner circle was, as Keerti said, that it's a broad representation of Osho's, all the departments in the commune, plus Osho's world throughout the whole globe. But now that has narrowed down to just this duopoly. So I think and also I remember back to 1984 when Osho presented through Anisha's announcement, the Sansad. This was also a committee of 112 sannyasins, of which 21 were supposed to be enlightened already, and that they would be the Sansad, the circle or the council of people who would decide how the commune would continue after Osho had left. And I could see at that moment that Osho's first preference was for 21 enlightened people. But by 1990, I think there were zero amount of enlightened people. Swami Anant Maitreya was only announced living enlightened sannyasin who died, but he died in 1987. Perhaps Mataji, Osho's beloved mother, was enlightened, but she was definitely not a political figure. But basically, we did not have, or I don't think Osho had 21 enlightened sannyasins to choose from. So he chose 21 very strong personalities with the instruction that they should reach a consensus, a unanimous agreement. Now, in my understanding, the only way 21 strong ego people can agree about anything is to drop their egos. And that means to meditate. And I must say, it's with great disappointment that this did not happen. That the failure of the inner circle is a failure of our collective meditation. And I don't know how the inner circle was functioning. I hoped that they would start with meditation and end with meditation. Perhaps they did, but it obviously did not work out. So that within 1 year, the first major split of 5 people, the Hollywood group, were tired of fighting and decided to leave and go back to America. And I think Jayesh was also tired of fighting, and he chose 5 yes men to replace. And then this went on. And then eventually we have no inner circle. We just have Jayesh, Amrito, Gerimo, and if there are 18 others, they're all yes men who just say, yes, Amrito, whatever you say, yes, Jayesh, you're right. There is no inner circle anymore.
There is no inner circle anymore, and that remains a fact when we speak. Because other than these yes men and chosen yes women, there is no one else to question the wrongs or any decisions of Jayesh.
Yes, may I add a point? Because I'm a psychologist, a psychotherapist. So from social psychology, we notice that this is a failing within organizations and governments when there is an autocracy, especially an autocracy that is formed around a charismatic personality. In social psychology, it's often recited as a prime example was the government of John F. Kennedy in the 1960s in America, that the Bay of Pigs disaster rose out of a failure of his own inner circle of politicians failing to give any critical analysis, speaking out. Anyone criticizing Kennedy's viewpoint was ostracized. They were eliminated. This led to a political disaster that was almost the beginning of World War III back in 1962. Now, of course, Osho's commune is not the American government, thank God, but still it's an example that Jayesh is quite a similar character as Kennedy, very charismatic. And when you have a charismatic leader, there are always people that will worship them and not speak out any critical viewpoint. the failure of allowing any critical viewpoint is that we have a monopoly. And a monopoly means an autocracy. An autocracy is another word for dictatorship. So basically
Yes.
now I have to say that we have Jayesh as the dictator, and he has basically just running the whole Osho resort according to his vision of what Osho said to him.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Uh, when you say Osho, there comes a man who broke the conditioning of the mind and wanted to break away from the prejudices of society that were thrust upon each individual to finish individuality. His vision of a new man is what is to be emphasized today. At the same time, when he created the inner circle, it was not a club to discuss philosophy, but a pragmatic and practical way to decide things about what was going to happen later. At the same time, we must say that this current inner circle, so called inner circle, which whether it exists or it doesn't, has only played with the emotions of sannyasis worldwide and destroyed the credibility of a master whose vision was beyond years for people to understand when he was in body. With this, I thank you, Swami Samudroprem. Thank you, Swami Chaitanya Keerti ji, for joining in today, giving us your precious time, speaking about what was the vision of the inner circle and how it has been destroyed over the years. At the same time, the banning of sannyasis, the illogical arguments put forward, and bringing down issues to whether people wearing the malas should be allowed inside the commune or no, bringing it down to that level is what the current management team is indulging in. Thank you so much once again. With this, I end today's episode. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Keerti.